After I left with the kids to stay with my parents, my mother-in-law rushed over like a bullet to change the locks on my apartment. And when she proudly opened the apartment with a new key, she froze in horror at what she saw. But before we begin, I'll ask you to like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you and enjoy listening. The phone vibrated right in the middle of the meeting. Olivia glanced at the screen. Her mother-in-law again. Fourth time this morning. She declined the call and returned to the presentation. The marketing director was going over a new advertising campaign, but Olivia was no longer listening. One thought kept spinning in her head. What happened again? What has Patricia come up with this time? When the meeting ended, Olivia stepped into the hallway and called back. The rings were long and drawn out. Then came her mother-in-law's voice, sweet and syrupy. Olivia dear, finally. I was beginning to think you'd forgotten all about us. I was at work, Patricia. What happened? Oh, nothing special. I just wanted to remind you. It's Friday today. We agreed that I'd come over to babysit Max and Allie. You remember, don't you? Olivia didn't remember. Or rather, she remembered categorically refusing 3 days ago when her mother-in-law had once again hinted that the grandkids missed their grandmother. Patricia, I told you today wouldn't work. I have plans for the evening. What plans? Her mother-in-law's voice sharpened. Children are more important than any plans. Or do you think otherwise? Olivia squeezed the phone. Breathe evenly, don't snap. We'll discuss this later. I need to work. Fine, fine. Her mother-in-law sighed as if deeply wounded. I just wanted to help, but if I'm not needed. Olivia hung up, sat on the windowsill in an empty conference room, and covered her face with her hands. How tired she was. Tired of these calls, this pressure, this constant guilt that Patricia knew how to evoke with a single intonation. The apartment on Riverside Drive, Olivia bought when she was 29. By herself, without loans, without help from parents, without a husband. He didn't exist yet. For 6 years, she'd worked as a purchasing manager at a large retail chain, taking overtime, saving on everything. Her friends vacationed in Cancun. She visited her parents in Buffalo. Friends updated their wardrobes every season. She wore the same jeans for 3 years. When she signed the purchase agreement, she cried right there in the realtor's office. A grown woman sobbing, like a girl, because this was her victory, her independence, her territory. 3-bedroom, 1,200 square feet, brick building, not new construction, but solid. She did the renovation herself, hung wallpaper on weekends. A friend laid the laminate flooring for a symbolic fee. She chose furniture. For months, a mustard-colored sofa, a solid ashwood table, a high-backed armchair by the window. It turned out cozy, modern, without excess. Her space, her rules. She met Ethan by chance. Or rather, her friend Lisa introduced them, threw a party, invited a crowd. Ethan worked as a programmer at a startup. Not tall, thin, wore glasses, with perpetually tousled hair. They talked in the kitchen, discussing TV shows, books, life plans. He seemed calm, reasonable, without pretense, without ambitions to conquer the world. Just a normal guy. They dated for 8 months. Everything was smooth, no drama. He'd come to her place, stay overnight, but didn't suggest moving in together. Olivia didn't rush him either. She liked this distance. He in his rented studio. On the outskirts. She in her apartment. Freedom, but with someone close nearby. Then she got pregnant. They hadn't planned it, but it happened. Ethan reacted calmly, said, "Let's get married." Without romance, without a proposal on bended knee, just stating a fact. Olivia agreed, not because she dreamed of a wedding, but because a child needs a father, a normal family, everything proper. But before the courthouse, Olivia set a condition, a prenuptial agreement. Ethan was surprised. "Why? I'm not after your apartment." "Just for order," she replied. "You don't mind, do you?" He shrugged. "I don't mind." They went to a notary's office, had it drawn up. The apartment remains Olivia's property under any circumstances. Everything clear, no ambiguity. Ethan signed without even reading. She relaxed, thought, here's a grown man who respects other people's boundaries. Patricia appeared a week after the wedding. Ethan warned her, "Mom wants to meet you." She's coming. Tomorrow. Sure, of course, Olivia answered. She was curious to see the woman who raised such a calm son. Her mother-in-law arrived on Saturday afternoon, rang the doorbell. Olivia opened it. On the threshold stood a woman in her 60s, plump, in a brown jacket, with a large bag in her hands. Hair dyed reddish, styled in waves. A thick layer of foundation on her face. She smiled, but the smile didn't reach her eyes. Olivia, very nice to meet you. I'm Patricia, Ethan's mother. She walked into the hallway, looked around. Her gaze slid along the walls, lingered on new shoes in the closet, then on the mirror on the shelf with keys. Not bad, she said. Bright, clean. Ethan, you didn't tell me it was so spacious here. Olivia led her to the kitchen. Patricia pulled containers of food from the bag. Meatballs, mashed potatoes, salad. Homemade pastries with jam. I thought, you're pregnant. Cooking must be hard for you. So I brought this. Ethan's loved this since childhood. Right, honey? Ethan nodded, hugged his mother. Olivia put the kettle on, set the table. The three of them sat, drank tea, ate pastries. Patricia talked about herself. Lives alone in a 2-bedroom apartment in Queens. Her husband died 15 years ago. Pension is small, barely enough. Works as a janitor at a school. Does odd jobs here and there. Complain about her health, neighbors, utility bills. Olivia listened, nodded, sympathized. Then Patricia got up, walked around the apartment, peeked into rooms. The bathroom stood by the window in the bedroom. Nice view, she said. Overlooks the park. Must be quiet. Yes, quiet, Olivia confirmed. Lucky you. And I'm suffocating in my hole. Windows facing the courtyard, dumpsters under the windows. Terrible smell in summer. And in winter it's cold. The radiators barely heat. Ethan frowned. Mom, don't exaggerate. What exaggeration? Patricia waved her hand. You know yourself. How many times have I told you? Something needs to change. But where am I going to buy an apartment on a pension? A pause hung in the air. Olivia felt the tension, but said nothing. Patricia sighed, returned to the kitchen, finished her tea. She left late. It was already getting dark. Before leaving, she hugged Olivia, said, Take care of yourself, dear, and take care of Ethan. He's my only one, my one and only. When the door closed, Olivia exhaled. Ethan asked, Well, what do you think of Mom? Fine, Olivia lied. Nice woman. In reality, she felt uneasy. Something in those looks, those sighs, those complaints about life made her wary. But she decided not to jump to conclusions. Maybe first impressions are deceiving. Max was born in March. The delivery was difficult. Olivia spent a week in the hospital. Ethan came every day, brought fruit, water, sat nearby. But Patricia showed up without warning, burst into the room, ignoring the nurse's protests, sat on the edge of Olivia's bed, looked into the newborn's crib. Oh, he's so small, so thin. Are you feeding him properly? Olivia was taken aback. Of course I'm feeding him. Do you have milk? Because your breasts seem kind of small. Maybe there's not enough for him. There's enough, Olivia said more harshly than she'd planned. The doctors check, everything's fine. Patricia pursed her lips, turned away, then pulled a jar of baby formula from her bag. Just in case. If anything, supplement him. Olivia took the jar, silently placed it on the nightstand. When her mother-in-law left, she gave the jar to her roommate. At home, hell began. Not immediately, gradually. At first, Patricia started coming once a week, bringing food, sitting with Max while Olivia slept or showered. It seemed like help, but every time she found a reason to make a comment. Olivia, you're washing the diapers wrong. You need to do it by hand, with baby detergent. Olivia, you're dressing him too warmly. He's sweating. Olivia, you don't pick him up enough. A baby needs contact with his mother. Olivia at first made excuses, then started snapping back. Ethan intervened. Mom, that's enough. She's doing everything right. I just want to help, Patricia would say, offended. I have experience. I raised you, honey. Then her mother-in-law started coming more often, twice a week, 3 times, then almost every day. Olivia gave her keys in case of emergency. But Patricia started using them as her own. She'd come without calling, without warning. Olivia could be in the shower, could be feeding the baby, and her mother-in-law was already in. The kitchen, heating the kettle, laying out the food she brought, telling her son, "Honey, you should hang a shelf. Here, it would be more convenient." Or, "Ethan, why did you put the crib by the window? There's a draft, you need to move it to the corner." Ethan listened, hung shelves, moved furniture. Olivia objected, but he waved her off. "Come on, it's just a little thing. Mom knows better. She's experienced." Olivia started noticing that things were disappearing. Her favorite mug with the inscription "Best Marketer" disappeared. Then a book she was reading before bed vanished. Then a notebook with work notes. She looked, asked Ethan, he shrugged. She asked Patricia, who looked away, didn't answer. When Max turned 1.5 years, Olivia went back to work. They hired a nanny, a girl named Anna, a student, at the teaching college. She picked Max up from daycare, walked with him, fed him. Patricia took this as a personal insult. "Why do you need a strange woman? I can babysit my grandson." "Patricia, it's hard for you yourself. You work, you get tired." "Nonsense. For my grandson, I'll drop everything." "What, you don't trust me?" Olivia said nothing. In fact, she didn't trust her. There were too many of these little jabs, these comments, this interference. But a month later, Anna quit. Said she'd found a better job. In fact, Olivia saw Patricia talking to her in the yard, explaining something for a long time. Anna started acting strange after that conversation and then quit altogether. Olivia didn't try to figure it out. Hired another nanny, Svetlana. She lasted 3 weeks and also left. A third one, Maria, lasted a month. "What are you telling them?" Olivia asked Patricia point blank. "Nothing," she protested. "They just see for themselves that I'll do better. I'm the grandmother, and they're strangers." Olivia gave up. Patricia officially started babysitting Max after daycare. She'd come at 4 p.m., stay until 8 p.m., feed him, play with him, put him to bed. Olivia would return from work tired, and her mother-in-law would greet her with a question. "Well, did you work? I hope at least they pay you decently." Or, "Max waited all day for his mom, and you were late again." "Not good." Olivia would clench her teeth, stay silent. Ethan didn't intervene. He generally tried not to notice conflicts, would go to his room in headphones, sit at the computer. A year later, Allie was born. The second delivery went easier, but Olivia was exhausted. 2 children, work, home, everything piled on at once. Patricia offered help again. Olivia agreed because she had no strength to refuse, because there were no other options. Her mother-in-law officially moved in with them for 2 weeks to help with the baby. But after 2 weeks, she didn't leave. She said, "Where am I going now? You can't manage." Max is without supervision. Allie cries constantly. "I'll live a little longer." A little longer turned into a month, then 2, then 6 months. Patricia settled into the small room that Olivia had, planned for an office. She brought her things, her blankets, her pots and pans. She started cooking by her own recipes. Olivia would return from work and find borscht in the kitchen, which she couldn't stand, or meatballs, with onions that had made her nauseous since pregnancy. "Patricia, I asked you not to cook borscht." "I don't eat it." "What do you eat?" "Just salads." A man needs real food. Ethan can decide for himself what to eat. "You like my borscht, don't you?" "I do, Mom." Ethan nodded without looking up from his phone. "Very tasty." Olivia would go to the bedroom, cry into her pillow quietly so no one would hear. The children grew. Max was 3 years old, Allie 1.5 years. Patricia started establishing her own rules. She decided when to bathe the children, what to feed them, what to dress them in. Olivia tried to intervene, but her mother-in-law ignored her words, addressed Ethan directly. "Tell Olivia that Max is cold in that sweater. He needs a warmer one." Ethan would say, "Liv, maybe she's right about the sweater." Olivia would explode. "I'm the mother. I decide what to dress my children in. But Mom is experienced. She knows better." Knows better. Olivia couldn't believe her ears. "She's the mother better than me." Ethan would look away, stay silent. Patricia started criticizing Olivia in front of the children, telling Max, "Mommy's late from work again. That's bad, right? She should spend more time with the children." Or, Mommy doesn't know how to cook like Grandma, but that's okay. Grandma will always feed you. Max, a 3-year-old boy, started repeating, Mommy cooks badly. Grandma is better. Olivia felt everything inside compressing. Her own son, whom she bore, nursed, raised, was repeating her mother-in-law's words because Patricia spent more time with him, because she was nearby when Olivia was at work. One evening, Olivia went into Max's room and saw a new picture hanging on the wall. A photograph of Patricia with the grandchildren, large, framed in the most visible place. Who hung this? She asked Ethan. Mom asked. She says let the children know their grandmother. They know her. They see her every day. So what? It makes her happy. Olivia tore the picture off the wall, took it to the kitchen, put it on the table. Take this away, she told Patricia. Don't hang your photographs in the nursery. Her mother-in-law went pale. Her lips trembled. You hear how she talks to me? I do everything for your children, and she's throwing me out. I'm not throwing you out. Olivia rubbed her forehead wearily. I'm just asking you to respect my space. Your space. Patricia jumped up. And who am I here? A servant? I've been living with you for 6 months. Helping, and you won't even let me hang a photograph. Ethan stood, approached his mother, hugged her. Mom, calm down. Liv didn't mean to offend you. She did. She never accepted me from the start. I see everything. Olivia turned around, left the kitchen, sat in the bedroom on the bed, stared at the wall. She realized she couldn't live like this anymore. She was losing herself, losing her children, losing her own home, and her husband wasn't protecting her, wasn't even trying. The next day, she called her mom in Buffalo. Mom, can I come to you with the kids? For a little while? Of course, honey. What happened? I'll tell you later. Just tell me when I can come. Come even tomorrow. Olivia hung up. The decision had matured. She'd leave, take the children, go to her parents. Let Ethan think, let him realize what's happening. Let him choose, mother or wife, because she couldn't be in this triangle anymore. But she wouldn't tell them in advance, wouldn't warn them, would just pack things, put the kids in the car and leave before they could stop her, before they could pressure her, before they could convince her again. She opened the closet, pulled out a bag, started packing children's things, pajamas, sweaters, Max's toys, Allie's diapers, formula bottles. She worked quickly, precisely, as if performing a task at work. Patricia came into the bedroom, saw the bag, frowned. Where are you going? That's none of your business, Olivia answered without turning around. Honey, her mother-in-law rushed to the living room. Come here quickly. Ethan came in, looked at the bag, at his wife. Liv, what's going on? I'm leaving with the kids to my parents. What do you mean leaving? For good. I don't know, we'll see. But why? Because of what? Olivia straightened up, looked him in the eyes. Because I'm tired. Tired of your mother commanding in my apartment. Tired of you always being on her side. Tired of feeling like a stranger in my own home. You're being dramatic. Ethan tried to take her hand, but she pulled away. Mom just wants to help. Help? She wants to replace me. Wants the children to consider her the main one, and you're helping her with That's not true. It is true. Olivia closed the bag, zipped it up. And if you don't see it, then I really do need to leave. Patricia stood in the doorway, watching them. Her face was pale, lips pressed into a thin line. See what she's doing? Destroying the family, taking the children from their father. And I told you she's the wrong woman, selfish. Olivia raised her eyes to her mother-in-law, looked at her for a long time, closely, then said quietly, almost calmly, Patricia, you wanted this apartment from the beginning. I understand that. You wanted Ethan to drive me out of here, for me to leave on my own, and you to stay. But you know what? This is my apartment. Mine. And I'll only leave of my own free will, but with the children. She took the bag, left the bedroom. Ethan tried to stop her, grabbed her elbow. She jerked away. Don't touch me. She went to the nursery, woke Max. The boy cried, not understanding what was happening. Olivia picked him up, took Allie from the crib. The girl also cried. Ethan stood in the hallway, confused, pale. Liv, wait, let's talk. It's too late to talk. You should have thought earlier. She dressed the children. Max was whimpering. Allie was screaming. Patricia was lamenting in the kitchen. Lord, what's she doing? Stop her. But Ethan didn't stop her, just stood and watched as his wife left. Olivia went out onto the landing, closed the door behind her, took the elevator down, went outside. It was cold. The wind whipped her hair. She put the children in the car, buckled them in, got behind the wheel, started the engine, looked at the windows of her apartment. The light was on there. Her life remained there, which she'd built for 6 years, and that woman who slowly, methodically destroyed it all. Olivia pulled away, drove toward the highway to Buffalo, didn't look back once. The drive took 4 hours. Max fell asleep after half an hour. Allie cried the whole way. Olivia drove, gripping the wheel, staring into the darkness ahead. The headlights picked out pieces of highway from the night, white markings, rare cars. Thoughts spun in her head one after another, like a carousel. The phone was ringing off the hook. Ethan called over and over. Olivia didn't answer. Then messages came. Liv, where are you? Liv, answer please, we're worried. Come on, stop sulking. Come back, we'll talk. Normally. She read them, didn't respond, turned off the sound, drove on. Her parents met her at the threshold. Her mom hugged her, took Allie, carried her into the house. Her dad took the bags, nodded silently. He'd always been a man of few words, but Olivia saw concern in his eyes. The house was old, 2-story, wooden, with a stove and creaky floorboards. It smelled of wood and apples. Mom was making preserves for winter. Olivia came in, took off her jacket, sat on the couch in the living room. Max pressed against her, sleepy, confused. Mom, where are we? He asked. At Grandma and Grandpa's. Remember, we came in the summer. Where's Daddy? Olivia swallowed the lump in her throat. Daddy's home. He'll come later. Lying to her son was hard, but telling the truth was even harder. Mom put the children to bed in the room upstairs, came back, sat next to Olivia, took her hand. Tell me. Olivia told everything. About Patricia, about her constant pressure, about how she was pushing Olivia out of her own life, about Ethan who didn't protect her, didn't take his wife's side, about how she felt like a stranger in her own apartment, about the decision to leave. Mom listened, nodded, didn't interrupt. When Olivia finished, she said, You did the right thing coming. You needed to rest, be in peace, think. I don't know what to do next. Olivia covered her face with her hands. I can't live like this, but I'm afraid to get divorced. The children without a father. The children are living with a father who doesn't see what's happening. Mom squeezed her hand. That's not better than living without him. Dad sat in the armchair by the window, silent, then said, That woman wants your apartment. I understood right away when you told me about her. I've seen people like that. They quietly creep up, gradually take over territory, and then announce it was always theirs. Olivia nodded. She'd understood that long ago herself. The first days in Buffalo passed calmly. Olivia walked with the children, helped her mom around the house, slept late until noon. Ethan kept calling. She answered briefly, dryly. I'm at my parents'. The kids need rest. When are you coming back? I don't know. Liv, this is silly. Come back. We'll discuss everything. There's nothing to discuss. As long as your mother lives in my apartment, I'm not coming back. But she has nowhere to go. She has somewhere. She has her own apartment. It's cold there, damp. She can't live there. Then let her do repairs or go to relatives. But she's not coming back to my apartment. Ethan was silent, then said, You're selfish. You only think about yourself. Olivia hung up. Selfish. She, who saved for years for the apartment, denying herself everything, who bore 2 children, worked, pulled the household. Selfish because she doesn't want to give her home to her mother-in-law. Patricia called less often, but pointedly, leaving voice messages. Olivia dear, what are you doing? The children are without a father. Ethan is suffering. You're destroying the family. Come to your senses. Or Max and Allie. Miss you so much. Grandma is waiting for them. Come quickly. Olivia didn't listen to the end, deleted the messages immediately. A week later, Ethan came, without warning, just showed up at the gate of her parents' house. Olivia saw him. From the window, went out onto the porch. Why did you come? To talk. To talk normally. We have nothing to talk about. Liv, please, I miss the kids. Can I at least see them? She hesitated, then nodded, called Max. The boy ran out, saw his father, rushed him. Ethan caught his son in his arms, pressed him close. Olivia saw it was hard for him, saw that he really missed them. They sat on the bench in the yard. Allie slept in the stroller nearby. Max played with toy cars on the grass. Ethan looked at his wife. Liv, I understand it's hard for you. I understand Mom went too far, but let's find a way out. She'll leave if you come back. She's promised to leave 10 times and never left once. But now it's different. I talked to her. She agreed. Ethan, you don't understand. Olivia shook her head wearily. It's not just about her, it's about you. You never once took my side, never once protected me. You always chose her. She's my mother, and I'm your wife, the mother of your children. But for you, she's more important. Ethan was silent, looked at the ground, twirled a blade of grass. I don't want to choose between you. Then you've already chosen. You chose her. She stood, took Max by the hand, wheeled the stroller to the house. Ethan stayed sitting on the bench. Olivia turned around at the porch, looked at him. He seemed small, lost, but there was no pity, only emptiness. Ethan left in the evening, didn't say goodbye, just got in the car and drove away. Olivia went to bed late, couldn't fall asleep for a long time. She thought about what would happen next. Divorce, courts, division of property. Though there was nothing to divide, the apartment was hers by contract. But Ethan might try to contest it. Might say he'd invested, done repairs, bought furniture. Might try to claim a share. The next day, Olivia called a lawyer, Marina, the same one who had drawn up the prenuptial agreement. She told her the situation. Marina listened, said, the prenup is good, but if he proves the apartment was used as joint property, it could be complicated. Gather all evidence, receipts for buying the apartment, bank statements, witness testimony, and most importantly, don't give him reason to say you abandoned the family. I didn't abandon them. I just left with the kids. Legally, it might look different. Be careful. Olivia hung up. She realized she needed to prepare. She needed to protect herself and the children, because if Patricia really wanted the apartment, she wouldn't stop. 3 days later, Ethan called. His voice was strange, somehow tense. Liv, we need to meet, talk seriously. About what? About the apartment. Her heart sank. What about the apartment? Come, we'll talk in person. Tell me on the phone. A pause. Then, Mom thinks we should sell the apartment, buy 2 smaller ones. One for us with the kids, one for her. Everyone will be better off. Olivia went numb. For several seconds, she couldn't say a word. Then she whispered, You've lost your mind. Liv, hear me out. It makes sense. The 3-bedroom on Riverside is worth about $1.4 million now. We could buy 2 1-bedrooms for $500K each. There'd still be money left over. Mom gets her own place. We get ours. Everyone's happy. Ethan, this is my apartment. We have a prenup. You have no right to sell it. But we're family. We should help each other. Helping is one thing. Giving my only home to your mother is another. You're only thinking about yourself again. Yes, I'm thinking about myself because no one else is thinking about me. You're not. Your mother definitely isn't. She hung up, her hands shaking, sat on the edge of the bed, squeezed the phone. So that's it. They're already making plans, already calculating how much the apartment is worth, how to exchange it. She's supposed to agree? Give up what she spent 6 years of her life on. Olivia called Marina, who listened and said briefly, Come to the city urgently. We need to file a statement with the court to restrict access to the apartment and change the locks. Change the locks. Yes, he has keys, his mother does. They could do anything while you're in Buffalo. You need to secure the property, but that's necessary. Do you want to protect the apartment or not? Olivia swallowed. I do. Then act. I'll wait for you tomorrow at the office. Olivia drove to New York the next day, left the kids with her mom, met with Marina, discussed the situation. The lawyer was serious. Olivia, if they really want to sell the apartment, they'll act. They might try to arrange power of attorney, forge documents. They might just take out belongings, make it look like the apartment is joint. You need to get ahead of them. Ow! Change the locks, that's first. Second, file a statement with the court recognizing your property rights and prohibiting any actions with the apartment without your consent. Third, gather all evidence that the apartment was bought before marriage with your money. Olivia nodded, sat at the table, started signing papers. They changed the locks the next day. A locksmith came, removed the old ones, installed new ones. Olivia took the keys, gave one set to Marina for safekeeping, the second to herself, the third to her mom in Buffalo. She didn't tell Ethan, didn't warn him, just did it. He called that evening, yelling into the phone. What did you do? You changed the locks. Yes. How dare you? Easily. It's my apartment. I have the right. We live there. You live there. Now you don't. Live. You've completely gone wild. Mom came from work, can't get into her home. Olivia smirked. Home. It's not her home. It's my home. And let her go to her apartment in Queens. It's impossible to live there. Then let her do repairs. Or rent somewhere. But she's not entering my apartment again. Ethan was breathing fast, angrily, then said quietly, almost hissing, You'll regret this. And hung up. Olivia put the phone on the table. Her hands are shaking, but not from fear, from relief. She'd done it. Protected what was hers. Finally, Patricia called an hour later. Her voice was hysterical, breaking. What are you doing, you wicked woman? I helped you for 6 months, sat with your children, cooked, cleaned, and you threw me out on the street. Patricia, you have your own home. Go there. You're shameless. You've turned Ethan against his mother. Now you're driving me from the house. I won't forgive you for this. Don't forgive me. Just leave us alone. Olivia hung up, blocked her mother-in-law's number, then blocked Ethan's, sat on the couch at her mom's, held her head in her hands. That's it. The bridges are burned. There's no way back. Mom brought tea, sat next to her. Are you sure you did the right thing? Yes. If I hadn't, they would have crushed me. What's next? Next is divorce, division of property, alimony. It'll be hard. It will be, but not harder than living with them. The next 2 weeks passed in tension. Ethan tried to reach her through mutual acquaintances. His cousin called, tried to convince Olivia to compromise. Patricia's friend called, cried into the phone, told how bad it was for her mother-in-law, how she was left without a roof over her head. Olivia answered briefly. She has her own apartment, but it's cold there. Let her fix the heating. She doesn't have the money. Then let Ethan pay for repairs. He's such a caring son. She'd hang up, block numbers, live on. Max missed his father, asked, Mom, when are we going home? When will we see Daddy? Olivia didn't know what to answer. She'd say, Soon, sweetheart, be patient. But she knew soon might never come. A month later, a court summons arrived. Ethan had filed for divorce. Olivia expected this, hired a lawyer, gathered documents, went to the hearing. It was hard in court. Ethan sat across from her, pale, thin, didn't look at her. Next to him was Patricia in a strict black suit with a folder of documents. Ethan's lawyer, a young woman with a sharp look, started the attack. Immediately, my client asserts that Olivia left the family, took the children, deprived him of the opportunity to see them. This is a violation of the father's rights. Olivia's lawyer objected. My client didn't leave the family. She temporarily went to her parents with the children because the living conditions became unbearable. Her husband didn't protect her interests, didn't stop his. Mother's interference in family life. What interference? Ethan's lawyer raised an eyebrow. Patricia helped with the children, cooked, cleaned. That's normal help from a grandmother. The help turned into dictatorship. The mother-in-law essentially took over the apartment, established her own rules, ignored Olivia's opinion. Evidence. Olivia's lawyer pulled out a folder. Testimony from neighbors who saw Patricia constantly coming and going, acting like the owner. Correspondence between Olivia and friends where she complained about the situation. Recordings of conversations with Ethan where he demanded she return and not make scandals. The judge reviewed the documents, asked several questions, then moved to the main issue. The question of property division. The apartment on Riverside is registered to Olivia, bought before marriage. There's a prenuptial agreement according to which the apartment remains her property. Any objections? Ethan's lawyer nodded. There are. My client invested money in apartment renovations, bought furniture, appliances. He has the right to compensation. What amounts? About $30,000. We have receipts. Olivia's lawyer chuckled. $30,000 over 5 years of marriage. That's an insignificant amount compared to the value of the apartment. My client doesn't object to compensation if proof is provided. The judge nodded, set a new hearing to review the receipts. After court, Olivia went outside, gulped cold air. The lawyer patted her shoulder. Everything's fine. The apartment will remain yours. At most, you'll pay him compensation for repairs if he proves it. What about the children? That's more complicated. He'll demand visitation rights. The court usually accommodates the father. I don't mind. Let him see them. I just don't want Patricia involved. That can be written into the court decision. Olivia nodded, walked to her car, saw Ethan standing by her vehicle, alone, without his mother. She approached, stopped a meter from him. What do you need? To talk one last time. Talk. He looked at her for a long time, then said quietly, I didn't want it to turn out like this. But it did. Mom was right. You're selfish. You only think about yourself. Olivia smirked. You know, Ethan, I spent years buying this apartment. Work, savings, denying myself. Everything. It's mine. And yes, I'll protect what's mine. If that's selfishness to you, that's your problem. Mom's left without housing. She has an apartment in Queens. You can't live there. Then let her sell it, buy another one. Or you rent her an apartment. You work, you're a salary. But she'll never get my home. Ethan clenched his jaw. His eyes flashed with anger. You'll regret this. I won't regret it anymore. The worst was living with you. She walked around him, got in the car, started the engine, drove away without looking back. On the way to Buffalo, she thought about what would happen next. She'd finalize the divorce in a month or two. The apartment would remain hers. That for sure. Ethan would pay alimony, see the children on weekends. Patricia, what would happen to her? She'd return to her apartment in Queens, live alone, be angry, make new plans. Olivia didn't know and didn't want to know. That woman was no longer her problem. She arrived in Buffalo late in the evening. The children were asleep. Mom met her on the porch, hugged her. Well, the apartment will remain mine. We'll be divorced soon. Are you sure this is right? Olivia nodded. Yes. I can't live like that anymore. Don't want to. Mom sighed, stroked her head. Then live here as long as you need. We'll help. Olivia cried, quietly burying her face in her mom's shoulder. Not from grief, but from relief, because for the first time in a long time, she felt safe. Another 3 weeks passed. Olivia lived in Buffalo, worked remotely, raised the children. Ethan called. Sometimes, asked to let him talk to Max. She allowed it. The boy was happy, chatted with his father on video. Call, then got sad, asked, Mom, will we ever go home? We will, sweetheart, soon. She really planned to return, just not now. She needed to wait until everything settled down, until the divorce was finalized, until Ethan and Patricia calmed down and accepted things. Then she'd return to her apartment, enroll the children in daycare and school, start living anew. But one evening, when she was sitting in her mom's kitchen reading documents from the lawyer, a notification came on her phone from a security system. Olivia had installed it in the apartment 2 years ago after moving, just in case. She'd put up several cameras, one in the hallway, one in the living room, one in the nursery, to understand what was happening at home when she wasn't there. She hadn't checked the recordings for a long time because no one should be in the apartment. The locks were changed, no one had keys. But the notification came. Motion detected in the apartment. Olivia opened the app, connected to the hallway camera, and froze. On the screen stood Patricia. She was opening the door with a new key, entering the apartment, looking around, satisfied, confident, as if coming home. Olivia stared at the screen, not believing her eyes. How? How did she get inside? The locks were changed. Then she understood. The locksmith. She called a locksmith, replaced the locks again, made herself keys. Her heart was pounding. Olivia switched to the building camera. Yes, the system was there too, installed too. years ago by the management company after residents complained. The recording showed Patricia arriving at the building, opening the intercom with her old code, entering, then going up the stairs, then a locksmith. Hey, young guy with a toolbox. They talked about something. The locksmith started working on a lock. Olivia watched the recording to the end. The locksmith changed the lock, gave Patricia the keys. She paid, he left. She stayed, opening the door with the new key, entering the apartment. The recording from the hallway camera showed her mother-in-law walking through the rooms, touching things, opening closets, sitting on the living room couch, looking around, smiling. Olivia exhaled. So that's it. Patricia decided to act. Decided to seize the apartment by force since the nice way. Didn't work, but she didn't know about the cameras. And Olivia knew, and she had evidence. She saved all the recordings, copied them to a flash drive called Marina. Marina, I have a problem. My mother-in-law broke into my apartment. Ow! Changed the locks, called a locksmith, made herself keys. But I caught it all. The cameras in the apartment. And building recorded everything. The lawyer was silent, then said slowly, Olivia, this is unlawful entry into a dwelling. A criminal offense. You can file a police report. Seriously? Absolutely. Do you have evidence? Video recordings? They clearly show she entered without your permission, using fake keys. Olivia gripped the phone tighter. What do I do? Tomorrow morning, come to me. We'll prepare a statement, go to the police. With evidence like that, they'll detain her. Olivia hung up, sat on the chair, stared at the wall. Police. A statement, criminal case. She didn't want it to come. To this, didn't want to send her mother-in-law to jail, but what else was there? Patricia wouldn't stop. She'd pressure, demand, take over until she got everything. So she needed to stop her once and for all. Olivia opened the recording again, watched Patricia enter the apartment, sit on the couch, smile. That smile said everything. I won. The apartment is mine. But you lost, Patricia, Olivia thought. Because I caught you. And now you'll answer for this. Olivia didn't sleep all night. Sat in the kitchen, rewatched the recordings over and over. Every frame, every movement of Patricia was captured clearly. There she enters the building. There she goes up the stairs there. She talks to the locksmith, shows him the door. The locksmith works for about 20 minutes, removes the old lock, installs a new one. Patricia pays cash, takes the keys, the locksmith leaves. Then she opens the door, enters, looks around. Triumph on her face. She walked through the rooms, opened closets, looked in the refrigerator, sat on Olivia's couch, put her feet on the coffee table, turned on the TV, sat for about 40 minutes watching some show, then got up, went to the bedroom, lay on Olivia's bed, just lay there, with her arms spread, looking at the ceiling, smiling. Olivia watched the screen and felt rage boiling inside. This woman was lying on her bed in her apartment, which she didn't buy, didn't pay for, had no connection to, but was acting like the owner. In the morning, Olivia collected all the recordings on a flash drive, called Marina, arranged a meeting, drove to New York, leaving the kids with her mom. In the lawyer's office, she pulled out her laptop, showed the recordings. Marina watched silently, her face getting more serious. This is gold, she said when the recording ended. Pure gold. You have everything. Face, time, action. She didn't just enter, she changed the locks. This isn't just unlawful entry. It's also deliberate actions to take over someone else's property. What do I do? We go to the police right now. You write a statement. Attach the recordings. They're obligated to open a case. Olivia nodded. They drove to the precinct on Riverside. The duty officer met them indifferently, listened, half-heartedly. But when Marina turned on the recording on the tablet, his face changed. Wait here. He stood, went somewhere deeper into the building, returned in 10 minutes with an older man in uniform. Detective Kuznetsov introduced himself briefly, sat across from Olivia, watched the recordings again, asked several questions. This is your apartment? Yes. Here are the ownership documents. Does this woman have keys? She did. I took them when I left. Then I changed the locks. But she called a locksmith, installed new locks. Made herself keys. Did you give her permission? No. neither verbal nor written. The detective nodded, wrote something in a notebook. Okay, write a statement in detail with all circumstances. Leave the recordings with us. We'll open a criminal case under Article 139 of the Criminal Code. Unlawful entry into a dwelling, plus possibly Article 165, causing property damage through fraud or abuse of trust. Olivia sat at the table, started writing. Her hand trembled, letters blurred, but she tried to state clearly, factually. She described the whole history, how Patricia gradually took over the apartment, how she pressured her, how she made plans to sell the housing, how Olivia left, changed locks, and her mother-in-law in response made her own keys and broke in. The statement took 3 pages. She signed it, dated it. Marina signed as her representative. The detective took the documents, put them in a folder. Within 3 days, we'll issue a decision to open a case. Then we'll summon this woman for questioning. If she admits guilt, good. If not, we'll investigate further. What does she face? Olivia asked quietly. Under Article 139, up to 2 years imprisonment. If we prove intent under Article 165, it could be harsher, but that's for the court to decide. Olivia stood, thanked him, went outside, gulped cold air. Marina walked beside her. Are you sure you want to go all the way? The lawyer asked. This is after all your husband's mother. Ex-husband. I'm sure. Olivia looked her in the eyes. She crossed the line. She thought she could do anything because I wouldn't fight back. But I will, and let everyone know what's mine is mine, and no one has the right to take it. Marina nodded. Then get ready. It'll be tough from here. 2 days later, Detective Kuznetsov, called Olivia, reported that the case was opened. Patricia was summoned for questioning. She came with a lawyer, denied everything, said she had the right to be in the apartment. Because she'd helped the family live there for 6 months, it was essentially her home. But when they showed her the camera footage, she became confused, tried to explain that she just wanted to get her things, that she wasn't going to steal anything. But the detective asked point blank, why did you change the locks? I thought I had the right. I live there. You're not the owner. The owner is Olivia. She changed the locks because she didn't want you to enter. You violated her will, changed the locks again. That's illegal. Patricia fell silent. The lawyer asked for time to consult. The detective gave them 15 minutes. When they returned, the lawyer said his client was ready to partially admit guilt. Yes, she changed the locks. Yes, she entered the apartment, but not with the intent to take it over, but to retrieve personal belongings. The detective recorded the testimony, but his expression was skeptical. Fine, we'll check. We'll process a written undertaking not to leave. They let Patricia go, but a week later the detective called Olivia again. Olivia, we need to inspect the apartment, check what she was doing there. Can you come? Olivia came the next day, met the detective at the building. They went up to the apartment. The lock was still the one Patricia had installed. The detective photographed it, recorded the data. Then they went inside. The apartment looked different, not how Olivia had left it. Things were rearranged. In the kitchen stood new dishes, cheap from a mass market store, not what Olivia bought. In the bedroom on the bed lay someone else's blanket. In a closet hung Patricia's clothes. She was going to live here, Olivia said quietly. Not get things live. The detective nodded, photographed everything. In the hallway they found documents, a contract for lock, installation, a payment receipt in Patricia's name. She'd listed herself as the owner of the apartment. This is more serious, Kuznetsov said. She didn't just break in, she tried to secure the right to the housing. Document forgery, fraud. This is a whole different article. Olivia clenched her teeth. So she was right. Patricia wanted to finally drive her out, take the apartment, register it in her name. What's next? She asked. Next is an expert examination, additional questioning, then court. The process will take about 3 to 4 months. Get ready. Olivia nodded, asked to change the lock again. The detective allowed it, but only after they finished the inspection. 2 hours later, a locksmith came, installed a new lock. Now the third in recent months. Olivia took the keys, locked the apartment, drove back to Buffalo. Ethan found out about the police report a week later, called, screaming, "What are you doing?" "You filed a report." "Against my mother?" "Yes. She broke into my apartment illegally. She wanted to get her things. She wanted to take over the apartment. And you know that perfectly well. You were in on her plans." Ethan fell silent, then said more quietly, "I didn't know she'd changed the locks. But you knew she wanted the apartment. You told me yourself, let's sell it by 2 studios. That was your plan, hers and yours. Liv, she's my mother. You can't put her in jail. I can and I will. Let others know you can't take what belongs to someone else. You're heartless." "No, Ethan, I'm just protecting what's mine, what I spent 6 years of my life on. And you betrayed me for your mother, and now you'll both pay." She hung up, blocked his number again. The next 3 months dragged on slowly. The investigation collected evidence. They questioned the locksmith. Who changed the locks? He confirmed that Patricia introduced herself as the owner of the apartment showed. Her passport paid cash. They questioned neighbors who told how they constantly saw the mother-in-law, that she acted like the owner, even told someone the apartment was now hers. All this went into the case. The detective qualified Patricia's actions under 2 articles: 139, unlawful entry into a dwelling, and 165, attempted fraud. The materials were transferred to court. The court hearing was scheduled for early November. Olivia arrived the day before the trial, stayed with her friend Lena, who once introduced her to Ethan. Lena met her sympathetically. "Hang in there, Liv. You're doing the right thing. I'm scared. I know, but you're strong. You'll get through this." In the morning, Olivia dressed strictly. Black suit, white blouse, minimal makeup. She pulled her hair back in a bun, looked serious, businesslike. Arrived at court half an hour early. In the corridor sat Patricia, aged, haggard in an old coat. Next to her was a lawyer, a young man with a tired face. Ethan stood by the window, smoking an e-cigarette, saw Olivia, turned away. Olivia walked past without looking at them, sat on a bench to the side. Marina sat next to her, representing her interests as the victim. The hearing began at 10 o'clock. The courtroom was small, for about 30 people. Not many people came. Olivia, Marina, Patricia, her lawyer, Ethan, Detective Kuznetsov, several witnesses. The judge, a woman about 50, strict, in glasses, read the case materials, then asked Patricia, "Do you plead?" "Guilty." Patricia stood, holding onto the back of the chair. Her voice trembled. "I partially plead guilty. Yes, I changed the locks. Yes, I entered the apartment. But I didn't want to steal anything. I just wanted to live there. I helped this family for 6 months, sat with the grandchildren, cooked, cleaned, and then they threw me out. Just took and threw me out. My own apartment is bad. You can't live there. I thought I had the right." "What right?" The judge looked at her over her glasses. "The owner of the apartment is Olivia. You're not a relative, not registered. You have no rights to this housing. But I helped. Help doesn't give rights to someone else's property. You understand that." Patricia lowered her head, fell silent. The lawyer tried to soften the situation. "Your Honor, my client is an elderly woman, a pensioner. She didn't act out of greed, but because of a difficult life situation. She was kicked out of the apartment where she essentially lived. She was confused, made an unwise action. We ask you to consider her age, health condition, absence of criminal record." The judge nodded, wrote something down, then asked Olivia, "Olivia, tell us your version of events." Olivia stood, her heart pounding, but her voice was steady. "I bought the apartment on Riverside before marriage with my own money. Then I married Ethan, Patricia's son. We drew up a prenup, according to which the apartment remains my property. Patricia started coming often, helping with the children. Then she started living with us permanently. I didn't throw her out immediately, because I needed help. But she started acting like the owner, moving furniture, criticizing me, pressuring my husband. I understood she wanted to take over the apartment. When I went to my parents, she called a locksmith, changed the locks, made herself keys, and broke into the apartment. I caught all this on cameras. She wasn't retrieving things. She was setting up the apartment for herself, brought her dishes, clothes, introduced herself to the locksmith and master as the owner. This was a planned action, not spontaneous. The judge nodded. Understood. Is there evidence? Marina handed over a folder with materials. The judge reviewed the camera footage, documents, witness statements, then announced a recess for deliberation. Olivia went out into the corridor, sat on a bench. Her hands were shaking. Lena sent a message. Hang in. There, you're amazing. Olivia answered briefly. Thanks. Ethan approached her, sat next to her, not looking. Liv, can we talk? Talk. I wanted to say I'm sorry. I was wrong. I should have protected you, but I couldn't go against my mother. I'm a weakling. Olivia looked at him. He looked exhausted, aged. Yes, you're a weakling. I know, and I understand you won't forgive me. But I'm asking, don't put Mom in jail. She's old, sick, prison will kill her. Ethan, she tried to take my home that I built for years. She thought she could do anything, and you helped her. You both deserve punishment. Punish me. I'm ready, but leave her. Olivia shook her head. Too late. The court decides. Ethan stood, walked away. Olivia saw him wiping his eyes, but there was no pity. He made his choice when his mother was more important than his wife. Now, let him live with the consequences. An hour later, the judge returned, read the decision, find Patricia guilty of committing a crime under Part 1 of Article 139 of the Criminal Code, unlawful entry into a dwelling, and Part 1 of Article 30 and Part 2 of Article 165 of the Criminal Code, attempted fraud, sentenced to imprisonment for a term of 1 year and 6 months to be served in a general regime settlement colony. Silence hung in the hall. Patricia sobbed, covered her face with her hands. The lawyer was writing something. Ethan went pale, sat on the bench. Olivia listened to the sentence and felt a strange emptiness. Not joy, not satisfaction, just emptiness. She'd achieved her goal. Patricia would be punished. But the victory was bitter. The judge continued. Also obligate Patricia to reimburse Olivia for lock replacement expenses in the amount of $2,500 and moral damages in the amount of $5,000. The sentence may be appealed within 10 days. The hearing ended. They took Patricia away. She walked slowly, bent over, holding the guard's hand, didn't look back at her son, at her daughter-in-law, just walked. Ethan stayed in the hall, sat motionless. Olivia walked past without looking at him, went outside, breathed in the cold air. Marina caught up with her, put an arm around her shoulders. It's over. You won. Doesn't feel like winning, Olivia smiled weakly. But it is a victory. You protected what's yours. You showed that no one can take from you what you've earned. Olivia nodded. They walked to the car. On the way, Marina said, now the divorce. The final step. The divorce was finalized within a month. Quick, no disputes. Ethan didn't contest the apartment, didn't demand more alimony, just signed the papers, asked for visitation rights with the kids on weekends. Olivia agreed. The children weren't to blame for what happened between their parents. The court set child support at 30% of Ethan's salary for both kids, established the father's right to see them twice a week, but without the grandmother's participation. That was important to Olivia, so Patricia would know. Longer influence her grandchildren. When all the papers were signed, Olivia returned to her apartment on Riverside, opened the door, walked in. It smelled of dust, dampness. She opened the windows, aired it out, turned on the heat, walked through the rooms. She removed Patricia's things, threw out the dishes, clothes, blankets, everything that reminded her of her mother-in-law. Then she mopped the floors, dusted, put on fresh linens. The apartment was hers again. Her space, her territory. But there was no joy, just exhaustion, emptiness. Olivia lay on the couch, stared at the ceiling, thought about what had happened over the past year. How her family had fallen apart, how she'd fought for what was hers, how she'd lost her husband, peace of mind. She'd won. The apartment remained hers. Her mother-in-law was in prison. The divorce was finalized. But the price was high. Max and Allie were left without a complete family. Ethan without a wife. Patricia behind bars. Everyone lost, even Olivia. She got up, went to the window, looked at the evening city, at the lights, at the cars below. She remembered how she'd bought this apartment, how happy she'd been, building plans, dreaming of a happy family, of children, growing up here. But it turned out completely different. The phone rang. Her mom. Liv, how are you? Fine, Mom. Tired. When are you coming for the kids? This weekend. I need to settle in here, put everything in order. Okay. Take care of yourself, honey. I will. Olivia hung up, sat on the windowsill, hugged her knees, thought about what would happen next. She'd return to the office, resume work, bring the kids back, enroll them in daycare and school. She'd live alone, without a husband, without a mother-in-law, without unnecessary pressure. Free but lonely. Max would ask about Dad. Allie would grow up not remembering what family was like. Ethan would come on weekends, play with the kids, then leave again. Patricia would get out of prison in a year and a half, return to her apartment in Queens, would be angry, might try something again. But Olivia wasn't afraid anymore. She knew she could protect herself and her children. In the morning, Olivia woke early, made coffee, sat at her laptop, opened her email. A pile of messages from colleagues, from clients. Everyone asking when she'd be back. She wrote to her manager, starting Monday. He replied, excellent, we're waiting. Work was salvation. Projects, tasks, deadlines. No time to think about the past. No time to feel sorry for herself. She had to move forward. That weekend, Olivia drove to Buffalo for the kids. Max was thrilled, ran to her. Allie smiled, reached out her little arms. Olivia pressed them to herself, breathed in the smell of their hair. For them, she'd done all this. For their future, their safety. Mom, are we going home? Max asked. Yes, sweetheart, home. They packed up, said goodbye to Grandma and Grandpa. Olivia put the kids in the car, drove to New York. Max chattered the whole way, told her how they'd walked with Grandpa, how they'd fed the chickens, how they'd sled. Allie slept, snoring softly in her seat. When they got home, Max ran into the apartment, joyfully shouted, Yay, we're home. Olivia smiled. Yes, they were home. In their home, where no one else would command, dictate, or take away. That evening, Olivia put the kids to bed, read Max a story. The boy fell asleep quickly, hugging his favorite teddy bear. Olivia kissed him on the forehead, left the room, sat in the kitchen, poured herself tea, looked out the window at the night city. She thought about how life goes on. Ahead was work, children, new problems, new joys. Loneliness, but also freedom. The right to live as she wanted, without pressure, without manipulation. She'd paid a high price for this. Lost her family, her peace, her faith in people. But she'd kept the most important thing, herself, her dignity, her home. Olivia finished her tea, washed the cup, turned off the light, went to the bedroom, lay on the bed, closed her eyes. Exhaustion hit instantly, but before sleep she thought, I made it. I stood my ground. I could do it. And she fell asleep soundly, without nightmares. For the first time in a long while.